Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate your presence. Today is January 26, 2023. I have several news updates to share with you. Uh, so I will start with a good one, a good news uh, for Ethiopia. This is reported by government financed media, Fana Broadcasting Corporation. Other medias also reported about this. Uh, let's see what it says. Ethiopia World Bank signed two financial agreements with worth of $745 million. The Ministry of Finance and the World Bank signed two financing agreements amounting to a total of 745 million US dollar, approximately 39.8 billion Ethiopian birr, both in the form of grants. The first grant agreement amounting to 445 million US dollar will finance to implement program for results or hybrid for strengthening primary healthcare services. The second 300 million US dollar grant agreement will be used for the implementation of flood management project. The program for result or hybrid for strengthening primary health care service will be used to improve access to and equitable provision of high quality primary health care services and to further strengthen health system. The resource for flood management project will be used to strengthen Ethiopia's institutional capacity for disaster risk management and flood risk management in selected basins. The agreement was signed by Ahmed Ministry of Finance, and Osmane Dayon, Country Director for Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, and South Sudan, the World Bank, representing the government of Ethiopia and the World Bank, respectively. So Ahmed Shide representing Ethiopia and Usmane Dion representing World Bank, working on behalf of representing World Bank and assigned to work in and many countries: Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, and South Sudan. Recall that in December 2022, the World Bank Board of Directors has approved the $745 million grant to support improved access to health services and the flood management project in Ethiopia. So this is reported by FANA and also reported by other media. So it's good, but the World Bank and other actors, they must make sure this money will not be used to buy tanks and uh, will not be diverted to other uses, as is stated here, for improvement of health and risk management, which is good. We appreciate World Bank for giving this grant, but make sure Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party will not use this money to conduct the military operation, to buy tanks, drones, or pay for Turkey or other countries. So they have to make sure. That's the only thing we worry. Rather than that, for healthcare service and for other basic necessities. We are okay. We are okay. We need more money. We need more money. The country is broken, even though the leadership, you know, uh, does not recognize. This is about the continued controversy about the split in an Orthodox Church. This is from Addis Standard. So that issue is still hot. It's not settled. Those separated from the Orthodox Church demanding, demanding freedom and the teaching of the religion in their own language, in Afan Oromo, and equal opportunity in leadership. So they, claiming the establishment is, don't want to change and controlling everything. About 85% appointees are from one region. So they are fighting for their freedom, but now the establishment is using whatever power it has to punish those the leadership of 26 archbishops and the leadership. They are doing everything, removing their authorities, trashing them, using the media, and they are doing everything against those individuals, asking just equal opportunity and the chance, the opportunity to use the language, the native language in preaching the belief. So let me read what it says. This is from Addis Standard. Holy Synod revoke authorities of 3 archbishops, 25 episcopate involved in recent illegal appointments. So they are revoking the authorities from those individuals. As I say, they are doing everything. In an emergency plenary session, the Holy Synod of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, EOTC, held this afternoon, it has passed a decision to revoke the full authority given to 3 archbishops who were involved in appointment of 26 episcopate. The revocation of titles and authority by the Holy Synod also extends to the 25 episcopate out of the 26 who were anointed by the 3 archbishops. One of the 26, Father Tsagazab Adunya, has yesterday apologized to the church and its community and voluntarily resignated his episcopate appointment, which is accepted by the Holy Synod. Okay, so one given up. Today's decision by the Holy Synod followed event on Sunday morning when His Holiness Abno Sauros, PhD, Archbishop of Southwest Shoa Diocese, together with Archbishop Eustathius and Archbishop Zena Marcos, presided over the appointment of 26 bishops, 17 bishops for dioceses located in the Oromia region, and 9 bishops for dioceses outside Oromia at a ceremony held in Hora Bile World Church. His Holiness Abno Matthias I, Patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, convened an emergency meeting on the same Sunday and called the appointment process illegal and an act done without the approval of the Holy Synod, a great event that has targeted the Church, the Patriarch said, adding that it has taken place unexpectedly without the knowledge of the Synod and without discussions. The Patriarch then summoned all members of the Holy Synod from around the world for an emergency plenary assembly, which took place today. Subsequently, the Holy Synod issued a statement revoking the authority given to the three archbishops as of today. The Holy Synod also said that they will be called by their former secular names without a priesthood title, were condemned by the plenary assembly of the Holy Synod and will be separated from the activities of the church. So that's a punishment targeted the individuals who demanded equal opportunity in the church. So now they are getting punishment and removing their titles and preventing them from church. So the statement further said that the archbishops were entrusted with the apostolic mission, but acted in a manner that violated the foundation of the faith, religious canons, and all administrative systems. It constituted an act of destroying the institution and its structure, the statement added. However, the Holy Synod has said the doors of the Church's mercy will remain open for the three archbishops in the event that they decide to repent and apologize. Okay, it's good to leave the door open, but I don't know how you're going to negotiate when they are punishing you severely and degrading your personality. That's a tough one to negotiate with them. It is to be recalled that in the prayer issued after the appointment, His Holiness Abuna Sauros issued a lengthy explanation on the decision to appoint the 26 bishops and said that it was made to resolve long-standing problems within the church for failing to serve believers in their native language and detached of their culture, which resulted in a loss of millions of believers over the past years, particularly in Oromia and the southern region. So supposed to see the problem, the claim these bishops are making, instead of punishing them. They're supposed to sit down and talk it out, and resolve. But what they're doing is punishing them, trashing them, using different media outlets and insulting these individuals. The Archbishop accused the Holy Synod that is currently in office for comprising 85% of its members from only one group and for failing to reflect the church's diversity. That's it's a legitimate claim, should be addressed openly instead of threatening these individuals and punishing them and removing their dignity from the church service. And we'll see. No one is given up, so 25 still holding, and we'll follow it, and we'll see. This one is about Sibhat Nega. This is former TPLF founding founding member, and he's very old guy. Tried to get medical treatment abroad, but the Abiy Ahmed administration is holding him and holding his passport, denying him leaving the country without any court evidence or any order from the court. So this is again from Addis Standard. Court orders arrest of immigration officer for failing to uphold ruling involving former TPLF veteran Sibhat Nega. The the Federal High Court, the Data Branch, First Human Rights Bench has ordered the police to detain and bring an immigration authority officer who is accused of failing to appear in court on the case involving former TPLF veteran Sibhat Nega. His lawyer, Tadele Gabremedhin, told Addis Standard. I didn't know Ethiopia has first human rights bench. Really? Human rights bench in the court system? Yeah, it's a good name, but when all these violations are happening, what this human rights bench is doing? So they should, the name is very important name. First human rights bench. The court has this, but they are not using. They are not using. According to Tadele, Sibhat Nega opened a lawsuit against the Federal Police Crime Investigation Bureau and the Immigration and the Citizenship Service, ICS, in August last year after he was banned from traveling to Nairobi for medical treatment and his passport was confiscated. Following the lawsuit, the Federal High Court ruled on 7 December 2022 that the Immigration Service has no basis to ban Sibhat Nega from leaving the country and ordered for Federal Police Crime Investigation Bureau and the Immigration and the Citizenship Service official to appear before the court and give explanation on the matter. This is normal procedure where in the country the rules of law respected, but not in Ethiopia. But not in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed and his undercover operatives are running the country. They don't care about what the court says. They don't care. So many people still in jail after the court released them. The Federal Police Crime Investigation Bureau appeared before court on 25 January and explained to the court that it has accepted the court's order and expressed readiness to implement the ruling allowing Sibhat to travel, but the official from the Immigration and the Citizenship Service has failed to show up at the hearing. The Federal High Court, the Data Branch, First Human Rights Bench, has therefore ordered the police to detain and bring the immigration official during the next appointment adjourned on February 1st, 2023. Sibhat Nega, 88, was arrested at the height of the 2 years war in Tigray and was among 20 senior TPLF leaders who were charged for organizing an illegal group to overthrow the constitutional order, attack the Northern Command of National Defense Forces, inciting youth to fight, looting fuel depots, and killing several members of the defense forces. His charges were dropped and he was released along other TPLF leaders in January 2022. So many claims, so many tough claims against Sibhat Nega and others, but finally the case dropped. Now they are holding his passport, and so that he will not go for treatment. So they are waiting for his death. they're waiting for these days. It's a tough one under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. There is a tough situation between the judge orders and respecting the judge orders, even at the higher level. The lower level is very common. So many people, so many OLF uh, leaders, after they are free by the court, they are still uh, jailed, kidnapped by the police and by Abiy Ahmed order to, to keep them in prison for no reason. No reason at all. They are free in the court trial. This is about Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, a one-day visit in Sudan. He's already completed the visit and went back to Ethiopia. Let me read what says this also at this standard. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his delegation have arrived in Khartoum, Sudan for a one-day working visit, according to the office of the Prime Minister. The delegation was received by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council of the Republic of Sudan. The two leaders last met in person and held a meeting on the sideline of the Heads of State and the Government Extraordinary Summit by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, which was held on 5 July in Nairobi, Kenya. Subsequently, the two leaders said they underscored the need to collaboratively address and diplomatically tackle national, political, and security-related issues that bear greater ramification on the IGAD region. In November last year, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met with Ibrahim Gabir, a member of Sudan's military-led Transitional Sovereign Council, and held discussion on bilateral relations between the two countries and the issues of mutual concern. Between meeting, Prime Minister Abiy and Ibrahim Gabir came a day after Sudanese and Ethiopian spy agencies said they have signed an agreement to increase intelligence sharing on counter-terrorism and crime between the two countries. Okay, that's he may be cooking something. Prime Minister is, is a very tough. He tried to seal something. Probably try to control the movement of oil forces. The agreement was signed in Khartoum during a two-day working visit by Thomas Genturune, Director General of the National Intelligence and Security Service of Ethiopia, NISS, where he met with his Sudanese counterpart, Ahmed Ibrahim Mufadal, Director of General Intelligence Service, GIS. Tension between the two countries peaked after Sudan on 27 June 2022 accused Ethiopia's army of capturing and executing 7 Sudanese soldiers and a civilian. Ethiopia said it regrets the loss of life as a result of skirmish between the Sudanese army and a local militia, of which an investigation would be carried out soon. The two countries have since dispelled the tension, and in July, Sudanese army spokesman Brigadier General Nabil Abdullah Ali said the Technical Committee of the Security and the Defense Council, chaired by the head of the Sovereign Council, decided to reopen the Galbat crossing point, a key trade crossing point between the two countries, starting from 17 July. However, Sudan has continued maintaining the presence of its forces in and around the Al-Fashqa borderland, a territory abutting the common border between Sudan and Ethiopia, linking the eastern bank of the Atbara River and the south bank of the Tekeze River. Ethiopians called the area Mazega, which was under the administration of Amara regional state until the war in Tigray broke out in November 2020. Although Ethiopia has been demanding the return of Al-Fashqa borderland, a swath of lush and fertile land of about 260 square kilometers, there is no sign so far that Sudan intend to do so. Yeah, Sudan is not interested to return the land where it belongs. And in this trip also, the Prime Minister further encouraged the people of Sudan and all political parties to find homegrown solutions. He knows how to advise others, but he doesn't know how to deal the problems he's facing in his own country. He knows how to advise others. Find the solution, homegrown solution for your political problems. He's advising Sudanese. What he's doing, he's waging a war in Oromia now because he's using different excuses not to deal with these heavily armed and oily forces. Thousands, they are thousands. They are not simple power. You know, these are not small group, but he don't want to deal with them. He just try to crush them by using, the country's limited resources and talking to the neighbors so that they can close the border, so that they can help him to squeeze the oily forces. That's, he doesn't believe in a political solution. He just want to use power. Just want to use power. That's why I say the World Bank signing with Ethiopia should be watched very seriously. Should be followed up. Other than that, if the money comes in prosperity hand, he will buy Turkish drone or United Arab Emirates drones or Iranian drones or Chinese drones. He doesn't hesitate to use that money for his own purpose. The only thing he cares about is power. He doesn't care about the bloodshed, the ongoing bloodshed in Ethiopia. Now the Wollo Oromos are, crying for him, for help, crying because the Amara militia, Amara regional administration, all are organized their forces and, dismantling, killing, burning the properties of Wollo Oromos, which is under their control. That's the situation. Okay, this one is Secretary Blinken's travel to Egypt, Israel, and the West Bank. Press statement. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to Egypt, Israel, and the West Bank from January 29 to 31 to consult with partners on a range of global and regional priorities, including Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Iran, Israeli-Palestinian relations, and preserving the two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the protection of human rights and democratic values, among other topics. The Secretary will visit Cairo, Egypt, from January 29 to 30, where he will meet with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Foreign Minister Samir Shukri, and senior Egyptian officials to advance the US-Egypt strategic partnership and promote peace and security in the region, including through shared support for elections in Libya and the ongoing Sudanese-led political process. The Secretary then will travel to Jerusalem and Ramallah from January 30 to 31. In Israel, he will meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Foreign Minister Eli Cohen, and other senior leaders to discuss the enduring U.S. support for Israeli security, particularly against threats from Iran. The Secretary will also discuss Israel's deepening integration into the region, Israel-Palestinian relations, and the importance of a two-state solution, and a range of other global and regional issues. In the West Bank, the Secretary will meet with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and senior PA officials to discuss Israeli-Palestinian relations and the importance of a two-state solution, political reforms, and further strengthening the U.S. relationship with the Palestinian people and leadership. With both Israeli and Palestinian leaders, the Secretary will underscore the urgent need for the parties to take steps to de-escalate tensions in order to put an end to the cycle of violence that has claimed too many innocent lives. He also will discuss the importance of upholding the historic status quo at the Haram al-Sharif temple, Temple Mount in Jerusalem, in words and actions. The Secretary will engage with civil society throughout the trip to underscore our commitment to human rights, support for civil society, and the enduring importance of people-to-people ties. Yeah, credit for this one is U.S. State Department. So that is trip, and the talk of the two-state solution is very important. Palestinians are still dying of Israeli attacks. It's just a continuation of death in destruction in that area. No ending sight. So the two-state solution may be the first step to end that violence. Even today, they buried 9 Palestinians killed by Israeli operations in Jenin. It's a very tough one to continuously watch or report to you about that region. Okay, the last one for today this is from the White House. This is Joe Biden press release. Statement from President Joe Biden on the Tyre Nicholas case. Jill and I extend our heartfelt condolence to the family of Tyre Nicholas and the entire Memphis community. Tyre's family deserves a swift, full, and transparent investigation into his death. As Americans grieve, the Department of Justice conducts its investigation and the state authorities continue their work. I join Tyre's family in calling for peaceful protest. Outrage is understandable, but violence is never acceptable. Violence is destructive and against the law. It has no place in a peaceful protest seeking justice. Public trust is the foundation of public safety, and there are still too many places in America today where the bonds of trust are frayed or broken. Tyre's death is a painful reminder that we must do more to ensure that our criminal justice system lives up to the promise of fair and impartial justice, equal treatment, and dignity for all. We also cannot ignore the fact that fatal encounters with law enforcement have desperately impacted Black and brown people. To deliver real change, we must have accountability when law enforcement officers violate their oaths, and we need to build lasting trust between law enforcement, the vast majority of whom wear the badge honorably, and the communities they are sworn to serve and protect. That is why I called on Congress to send the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act to my desk, where they didn't. When they didn't, I signed an executive order that included stricter use of force standards and accountability provisions for federal law enforcement, as well as measures to strengthen accountability at the state and the local level. Today, we all must recommit ourselves to the critical work that must be done to advance meaningful reforms. So that is from President Joe Biden on the killing in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a tragedy. And that is accountability. That's accountability I'm calling for in Ethiopia. One life is worse. The president acted. How many people are killed in Wollo? 70, 80? Nobody knows. Since the war started, too many. What the prime minister is doing? Visiting Sudan to secure the border, to work against OLA. That's that's a business. He never released any statement on the people dying in Wollo by Amara militia operation and by Amara regional government coordinated operation. No statement. Here, the president released a statement, valuing the life of one individual. That's the difference we see. That's why we are advocating for Ethiopia accountability for those lives easily lost. No accountability at all in Ethiopia. No accountability. No. The constitution is there. It's very well documented, very well written, but in practice, people are killed, people are abducted, asked ransom, freed by the court, rearrested by the police. So many. So we are calling for greater accountability and fighting for human rights to be changed. Accountability to be strengthened in Ethiopia. Okay, that's the end of the reading. Let's listen to the videos I selected for you. The first one is U.S. sending Abraham tanks, about 31 of them, in coming weeks maybe, to Ukraine. And also Germany's and others are sending the best advanced tanks. So as I said before, there is no shortage of weapons. I think the challenge is how can you deal with a big country like Russia? You cannot win the war by just pouring money, tanks, drones. I think if they want to really save Ukraine, all the NATO members should come to the table and endorse all the resources needed to win the war, including human power. That's the only thing you can stop Russia. But sending best tank, he can destroy it. Yet maybe they can use it to extend the agony, slow days of Ukraine. Yeah, but they cannot win. They cannot win. You know, Russia. So they have to come back to the table, see if their strategy is working. Russia is under tremendous sanctions. Russia is under tremendous pressure, and all NATO members are pouring money, pouring military hardware. Now they are pouring tanks. We'll see. Let's listen to this and continue with other videos I selected for you.
The United States has confirmed it will send 31 of its powerful M1 Abrams battle tanks to Ukraine. President Joe Biden's announcement in a televised address on Wednesday reverses months of debate within his administration.
Today, I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. Secretary Austin has recommended this step because it will enhance the Ukraine's capacity to defend its territory and achieve its strategic objectives. The Abrams tanks are the most capable tanks in the world.
There had been concern that the tanks would be too difficult for Ukrainian troops to operate and maintain, but Biden says the necessary equipment would be sent for this purpose. And he added that the training of Ukrainian troops to use the Abrams would begin as soon as possible.
How to store and sort all your photos and videos in seconds. No computer knowledge required. This little device is the best solution that finds.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good afternoon, I'm Karen Drew. That breaking news comes in the death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols, who had confrontations with police in Memphis, Tennessee, and then ended up dead 3 days later. Now, in the past hour, the Shelby County District Attorney talked about the charges against 5 former police officers. A grand jury returned several, including second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and a few counts of official misconduct.
This is a new tragedy when you are killed by your own.
Tomorrow evening. Investigators say the video is stunning.
So we have, it's not a racist issue. Maybe we have a systematic.
I've been policing for more than 30 years. I've devoted my life to this profession.
Maybe a system challenge.
And I'm grieved.
Maybe
Frankly,
we need a different
shocked.
kind of
I'm sick
training for
by what I
policing.
saw.
So before it's white police officer killing black, now black police officers
with police and then
involved in this killing.
They found
It's
him
a
again,
different kind
and
of
he was
tragedy,
taken into
really.
custody during a violent arrest. People who've seen the video say he was beaten and turned into, quote, a human pinata.
So this is not
racism.
racism.
At least
this
one of the
is
officers
a
is expected to
policy
speak to reporters
issue, maybe.
at this hour.
It's a
We will have
training
an
issue.
update on Local 4 News at 5.
How to deal with civilians.
Iran has announced sanctions against more than 30 European individuals and entities. The move is in response to recent European sanctions against Iranian officials linked to a crackdown on nationwide protests. Those targeted with sanctions include Britain's Attorney General and Army Chief of Staff.
Iran is also
several
acting,
European parliamentarians and military
Iran is under
officials.
tremendous US and other European countries sanction. Now Iran is doing the same thing
and 3
to
senior staffers at the French
others.
satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo have also been
I don't
targeted.
know how it's going to be effective.
Euronews spoke to Dutch MEP Thijs Ruijten, who is one of those who's been blacklisted.
I think they are in panic and they feel very weak. That's why they move to these kind of measurements. And it's bizarre that the regime thinks that they can silence the European Parliament. The contrary is true. I'm even more motivated to continue our efforts to name the Revolutionary Guard for what it is, a terrorist organization that is terrorizing its own people and also waging terrorist methods outside Iran.
The MEP says that being sanctioned by Tehran makes them even more committed and determined to support Iranians against the regime.
Personally, there's not much impact, because I feel even more encouraged to continue to support the Iranians in Iran that are resisting their regime and fighting for freedom. So I think politically we will even be more motivated and more vocal about what we think of this regime.
Meanwhile, Iran claims the latest EU sanctions made a week ago breached the UN Charter. Iranians have been protesting against the regime since the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was arrested by the morality police for allegedly violating Iran's strict Islamic dress code last September.
Okay, this is Palestinians burying the ones killed by Israeli security forces. 9 of them, I think, today. And this is endless cycle of violence. This is the last video for today. Okay, so I wish Secretary Blinken will be successful in, convincing Israelis not to continue their deadly operation against Palestinians, and I hope he will convince them to stop expansion, building, illegal buildings on Palestinian territories. I hope they will stop that one, and I hope he will convince them to end the violence, and also the two-state solution is not, we have been hearing this two-state solution for a while, so we are, it should be practical to end the violence, to end the deaths in that region. I hope you will convince them. But Netanyahu is in power. I don't know if he's listening. He's a tough guy to deal with him. It seems like Israelis doesn't have another person to lead them. They just bring him, this very tough guy, to power. And the 5 police officers in Memphis you saw in the video, all of them, clearly they are African Americans. They are not white. So what is the issue? We have been complaining the white police officer killing, mistreating the African Americans. Now we have 5 police officers removed from their job for carrying out or participating in this killing, and charged with murder. So what is the solution? What is the problem? That's a challenge. Is it the training? We are missing something. How to deal with the, between the public and the police. So clearly, it's not a racist issue now. That's a challenge. The guy was killed is black, and the police officers are black. That's is a very tough question to answer, and I hope we'll have a solution. The split or the challenge in our Ethiopian Orthodox Church, I think what some citizens media believe dialogue between this group should be encouraged, and instead of using punishment as a tool or degrading those individuals. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. So negotiation and addressing the grievances, addressing the concern might, convince those individuals to come back to the church. If not, if you continue pushing them away, if you continue punishing them, removing their authorities, taking away their lodging, the vehicles, the church they are serving. I don't think that's gonna be a solution. So that's my take. And please be the voice for Wallo Oromos facing existential threat under Amara Regional Authority. There is no one standing for these people. These people are squeezed in that region, and they are suffering greatly, especially since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power. They have no voice. The federal government ignored them, the Oromia regional government ignored them, and the Amara regional government uses all the resources to displace, to kill, to detain, to confiscate their properties and burn their belongings. That is the reality happening under Amara regional government. So please be the voice and pray for them. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for joining me. I will be back with other news and update. So long and be safe.